Well, good evening, everyone. So right now, I am chasing the sun right now. So we are trying to get a little bit of math in. And I know for a fact some of you guys probably been watching some other lives because I did about 7 minutes ago. And I just feel like there's a lot of great people out here, a lot of great instructors, but people are just going too damn fast. Like I saw one that was like he was doing it correct. It was awesome. It was great. But if I don't understand what's going on and you're just going on your happy little way of let me show you how I know how to do math, now I'm starting to see why a lot of you guys say, Audrey, thank you. So, hey Jackie, I'm glad that you're here and I hope you have your papers with you because what I'm going to do is I threw together a math review from one of my viewers, and I want to go through it step by step, taking it one thing at a time. So for those that don't know me, my name is Audrey Codner. I'm the owner of Math by Audrey, and what I do is I take a lot of the concepts that you see, that you're going to see in the GED, the ASVAB, the Accuplacer, the TEAS test, the HESI test, the ACT, the SAT, any of those standardized assessments. And what I do is I basically break it down step by step and I show you how it all connects to my books, which is called Algebra at Your Pace. So there was a lovely person that was literally just like the rest of you guys are saying that if I just think about math, it gives me pure anxiety. I need to take a test. I need to pass the test. But for some reason, I just can't get the score. No matter how hard I try, no matter how hard I study. But here's the thing. Sometimes when you're seeing these lives, trust and believe, it's not because you're not good at math. It's because how you're processing it. After you do the live, what do you do with the stuff? You just go and watch another live. And then all of a sudden that person's doing something different and then you get your brain confused and then you just say, I quit. Well, I don't want you to quit. Hey Jazz, how are you? So we're going to actually look over this mini assessment that I created for one of my viewers. So now, there's going to be stuff in here that you're going to be doing multi-steps. But the concept is the same regardless if you're taking your high school equivalency test, the ASVAB, the Accuplacer, the TEAS test, the HESI test, and all the exams that I listed. Math is mathing, all right? So 2 plus 2, 2 times 2, and 2 squared all gives me the same result, but it's shown in 3 different ways. So when we're looking at question number 1, and I really want us to focus on one question at a time. It says, which of the following expressions is equivalent to the expression 3 to the 5th times 9 to the negative 2nd divided by 27 to the 2nd? So when you look at this, I know a lot of people are like, oh, I don't think I can do that. Yes, you can. First glance, take a look at your answers. What do you notice in all of your answers? What's something that they all have in common? You can put it in the chat if you see it. What do they all have in common? Okay. Take a glance. Okay. Tamia is saying a base of 3. Thank you. Okay, do we agree? Is it Tamia? I just want to make sure I'm saying that correctly. If it is, awesome. Do we agree with her? Okay, Jackie's saying the 3. Okay, all right. Thank you, Tamia. Welcome in. So they all have a base of 3. So now we need to translate this expression into bases of 3. Okay? So we start off with 3 to the 5th times, I'm going to put parenthesis, 9 raised to the negative 2nd divided by 27 raised to the second. So we need for this whole expression to be in terms. What I mean by that, the base has to be 3's. So in order for me to change a 9 to a 3, 3 to the what power will give me 9? 3 to the what power will give me 9? Okay, so to me it's saying 2. So 3 to the second power. Okay, Kent, I see you. Good. Boogie, I see you. Tony, I see you. Thank you. So 3 to the second power will give me 9. But this 9 already has an exponent of that -2. So that means we just transferred or translated the 9 to 3 to the second power. But what we're going to do is actually bring down that exponent of -2. Okay, we move that 9 and translate it into a base of 3. So what happens here is you have a 2, an exponent of a square, that is being raised by another power, by another exponent of a -2. So that means we need to multiply those exponents. Okay? Anytime you see an exponent, a parenthesis with an exponent, you multiply them. So this is actually going to be a base of 3 raised to the -4th power. Okay, so that's how we broke down the 9 raised to the -2nd power to the 3 raised to the -4th power. And I know a lot of my great gurus out there are saying that we can't have a negative exponent. But look at your answers. Your answers have negative exponents in there. So don't do any necessary changing around until the very end. Okay? All right. So now, let me bring my division. So now I need to change this 27 to a base of 3. So 3 to the what power will give me 27. Put that into the chat. Okay, Smooth, I see you. Okay, Tamia, I see you. There, I see you. Kayla, I see you. Boogie, I see you. Jerry, I see you. Tony, I see you. Monique, I see you. Hatfield, I see you. A, I see you. Caroline, I see you. Okay, so it's not going to be 3 raised to the 9th power. 3 times 9, that does give me 27. But we're talking about exponents. Notice my answers have exponents, so we're talking about exponents. So 3 to the 3rd power, that takes care of the 27. But originally that 27 has an exponent of 2. Okay? So this is the part that you're missing. We need to understand our exponents and we need to understand our squares and our cubes. That's what this question is testing. Okay? So now write down what I'm saying here, Jay. Okay? All right. So 27 is the same as saying 3 to the 3rd power. So that's 3 times 3 times 3. But now we have that exponent of 3. And we're going to multiply it times 2. So this is actually saying 3 raised to the 6th power. Okay? So when you have an exponent, a parenthesis and an exponent, when you have an exponent being raised by an exponent, you're not going to add them, you're going to multiply them. Okay, when you multiply, you add the exponents. But when you have an exponent being raised by an exponent, you multiply them. All right? Okay, so Tamia, I got you. All right, Rain, you'll see. So now let's put it all together. So we have 3 to the 5th power. That's what we got earlier. That just came on down. And it's being multiplied by 3 raised to the negative 4th power. Then we're going to divide 3 to the 6th power. So this is when, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally from left to right is going to step in. So we don't have to worry about our parentheses, don't have to worry about our exponents. It's this part right here. Which should we do first? So a lot of people will say, all right, why don't you, since you did a lot of work here, why don't you worry about these guys? No. You always go from left to right. So from left to right, I'm going to multiply. Yes. When I multiply, what do I do with the exponents? Okay. All right, you add them. Okay. All right, Pop-Tart, take your time. Because this is a difficult question because there's a lot of steps. And we are so used to doing one-step, two-step equations. But then when it comes to a lot of these assessments, they are mixing things in one particular problem. So the rule is, Shamar, that when you multiply, you add your exponents. So I'm going to add the 5 plus the negative 4. So 5 plus negative 4, that gives me 3 to the 1st power. Now they want us to divide. So what they want us to divide? They want us to divide 3 to the 6th. So when I divide, what's the rule of the exponents? Okay. When you divide, you're going to subtract. Good, Jerry. The exponents. So what's 1 minus 6? Okay, 1 minus 6, that gives me a negative 5. So we keep the base of 3, and we have our negative 5. As some of you guys saw, our answer would be A. So in order for you to get this particular problem, I first look at my answer choices. I noticed that everything has a base of 3. So that means I had to change this 9 to the negative 2nd power and this 27 squared. I had to change them so they can have a base of 3. Okay? Now, we don't want to be guessing, Jackie. This is between having your job and not having your job. So we had to change this 9 to a base of 3. So what is it? 3 to the what power will give me 9? So 3 to the 2nd power will give me 9. All right? Then we have the original negative squared. That comes down. That's where this came from up here to down here. So now we multiply. Okay? So 2 times negative 2, that gives us a negative 4. The reason why we multiply is every time you have an exponent being raised by an exponent, you multiply them. So you keep that base of 3, now it's raised to the negative 4th. So as we do that, we're talking about our 27. And our 27 is being raised to the 2nd power. So for this 27, we need to change it to a base of 3. So 3 to the what power will give me 27. That's where this 3 came from. Okay? And we brought down the square that was originally in the problem. So now you have an exponent being raised by an exponent. So we're multiplying them. So that's where the 6 came from. So now working from left to right, we're going to start combining. Okay? Alright, anytime you're working with exponents, you want to keep the bases the same. You want to keep the bases. Okay? Now, we have 3 to the 5th times 3 to the negative 4th. When we add the 5 and, I think I said 3. When we add the 5 and the negative 4, that gives us a positive 1. So you keep the bases. When the bases are the same and you're multiplying, you add the exponents. That's where the 1 came from. Okay? No, this is Algebra 1. This is Algebra 1. This is the properties of exponents. Okay? This is the properties of exponents. So now, divided by 3 to the 6th. So now, when you divide, you subtract the exponents. So you got 1 minus 6, that gives you a negative 5. Okay? When you divide, you subtract the exponents. That's how we got our answer of 3 to the negative 5th. Okay? Alright? So, for a question like this, it took not only knowing how to translate so you can have a common base, you also had to know that you got to go from left to right, just like you would do for the order of operations, in order to solve this problem. Okay? So we didn't have to put 1 over 3/4. We didn't have to do that. Alright? Yeah, so these are the type of questions that we tend to see. So that talked about number operations, mostly percentages. So if you saw this and you had difficulties regardless of what kind of test you're going to take, that means you need to revisit your exponents. Okay? So write that down. So, taking a look at this one. We're going to see how many we can get done before the sun goes down. Alright? So now we're going to talk about fractions, decimals, and percentage. So we have a local high school budget increased by 15% from year 1 to year 2. Then decreased by 10% from year 2 to year 3. If the budget in year 1 was $240,000, what was the budget in year 3? Now, just by reading that, tell me how you're feeling. Right away. Be truthful. If you need to use curse words, let it all out. How are you feeling? Okay, put it in the chat. How are you feeling? You see a problem like this. Spencer's the steps. Rain, you're saying good. Jaded, confused. Okay. Effing confused. I appreciate that. Monique. Okay. Confused, Jackie. Okay. Alright, stressed. That's a good one. Okay. So stressed, feeling overwhelmed. How about this? Don't know where to start. Yeah, a lot of confusion. Won't be able to do this in your head. Oh, we're not expected to. Okay. Sharon, how you doing? Confused, anxiety. Okay. So now this is what happens. You're going to see a problem that you're like, I don't know where to start. I don't know where to go with this. What should I do? And then you're feeling anxious. So now we got to calm ourselves to see what's happening. And the reason I think a little bit is because there's a lot going on. So now let's look at it. So they're saying that budget increased by 15% from year 1 to year 2. Okay? So that's included with 1 year. Right now, they tell us the year 1's budget was $240,000. Well, if there is an increase of 15% in 1 year, when you're dealing with interest, when there is what I like to call growth, because it increased by 15%. It didn't increase by $15, so this is not linear, okay? Because it increased by a percentage, that means we have to consider the original and we have to add on the percentage, which is a decimal. How do I change 15% to a decimal? Okay, you're not too dumb, Kiara, to answer this. Answer that part. How do you change 15% to a decimal? So Blue, I see you. Michelle, Smooth Clips, I see you. Rain, I see you. Nine, I'm trying to see that. Shay, I see you. Okay, Rainbow, I see you. Sharon, I see you. Okay, Mel, I see you. Alright. R. Smith, I see you. You could, but keep it simple. You're going to move it 2 places because it's dealing with out of 100 to the left. So that gives you 0.15. But since we're starting with the original, we're doing the original plus its rate. So the original is 1 whole. The rate that we're dealing with is an increase of 15%. So we got 1.15. We're not going to divide this. We're actually going to multiply by what that budget was on year 1. What was the budget on year 1? That's $240,000. So tell me, what is 240,000 times 1 15/100ths? Yep, this is where we're going to multiply. There you go. What do we get? Okay, 240,000 multiplied by 1 15/100ths. Okay, Michelle, I see you. Jerry, I see you. I love Lucy. I see you. You've been paying attention. There you go, Lucy. Spence, I see you. Thank you. Okay, Smith, I see you as well. General, how are you? Welcome on in. Okay, so when we're multiplying, you got your whole zeros. You could write all your zeros out, but when you multiply, you get $276,000. Okay, so that's when you started with the 240,000 with the 15% increase. Anytime you're doing an increase of a percentage, you always do the 1 plus the percentage. So that means year 1, or that now is going to represent year 2. So this answer that we got is actually representing year 2. Because we went from year 1 to year 2, there was a 15% increase, so this was the budget for year 2. Now, there's another part to this. It says, then decreased by 10% from year 2 to year 3. And what are we looking for? We're looking for what was the budget in year 3. So if this is representing year 2, and they're saying there's a decrease of 10%, so we're not just going to subtract 10 from this. Some people will say, all right, let me subtract 10%. But think about it. Just think about it for a moment. Just like a sale. When something says 10% off, 20% off, 50% off, how much of a percent is still on the item? So like for example here, when they're saying it's decreasing by 10%, they're basically saying that there's going to be 10% off. So when 10% is coming off, that means that 90% of the price is still on. Okay? When you're taking 10% off, you have your 90% that's still on. So why not, instead of multiplying this by 10%, get an answer, take that answer and subtract it, why not just change it to a decimal and multiply by the 90? Okay? So if 10% is coming off, that means 90% is still on this total. So what we're going to get is our answer is going to be what our budget is at year 3. What would you get? 276. What would you get? Alright, so Smith, I see with A. Diamond, I see you. There was probably a couple other people that said it as well. Okay, David, I see you. Michelle, I see you. Okay, Miss Chan, I see you. Rain, I see you. Okay, so 90% of 276, that will give us our 248. So that gives us 248,400. So that is our answer to A. Okay. Yep, you can do that too, David. Yep. All right. Okay. Stop blinking, Jay. He's like, I blinked. All right. So, when they tell you anything is increased by a percentage, that means we got to think of the whole times its or add it to its percentage. So that's where that 1.15 came from. All right. Now from year 1 to year 2, they gave us what the total. What was year 1's amount? So that'll be 240,000. So if we multiply, because it's an increase, if we multiply that 240,000 with our 1 and 1500s, we got 276,000. That is the budget for year 2. Okay, we started off with this in year 1. There was a 15% increase. So what is a 15% increase? We got, that will explain for year 2. That's where the 276,000 came from. Then over here it says decreased by 10%. So think about it. When they're saying that 10% is coming off of this total. So if 10% is coming off, thinking out of 100, so if 10% is coming off, that means 90% is still on. So that means we're going to multiply our 90% as a decimal, so that's where that 0.9 or 9/10, okay, come from, and we get 248,400, and that's going to represent year 3. So every time we get an answer, we go back to what the question is. What was the budget in year 3? Boom. That's how we know we can stop. Okay? Alright. Love that. Okay, let's get one more problem in. Love my accent. Never knew I had an accent, but here we are. But here we go. So if you got thrown off by question 2, let me kind of go back real quick. That means we need to work on maybe percentage, going from a percent to a decimal. We need to look at interest, okay? And we also going to need to look at how to go from one aspect to another, knowing what your percentage is. If something's being decreased by a percent, that means that percentage is coming off. If it's being increased by a percent, you gotta have your whole plus that increase of percentage. Okay, just knowing what those things are. Okay. Oh. Whoa. Now, for question 3, Mel, you're hilarious. Okay. So it takes that practice, Jackie. Okay, so breathe. It takes that practice. Alright, you gotta remember, I was a classroom teacher for 22 years. I hope to God I know some of these things. Because that's what I've been doing. Alright? Not everybody's been doing that. So give yourself some grace. Okay, last question before we completely lose all of our light. Alright, so now we have a math, and I know most of the questions are not going to give us titles. Reason why I put titles on this, so the person kind of knows, oh, you know what? I definitely need more work with that. So we have a map that has a scale where 2.5, okay, there's a point actually there, inches represent 40 miles. If 2 school districts on the same map are 6 1/4 inch away, what is the actual distance between them in miles? How do you feel about this question? Put it in the chat. Okay? Boogie, you're amazing. Alright? Okay, Pap, totally agree. Okay? Throw it all away. I know. I think the problem is we don't know where to start. Okay? The decimals and the conversions. But do you have to do conversions, Hatfield? Do we have to do conversions? Okay? Use division first. Okay? I see you, Luce. So take a look what they're giving us. So we got a map and there's a scale. The scale is saying that every 2.5 inches represents 40 miles. They're telling us there's a comparison. What is my comparison? My comparison is inches over miles. Okay, that's what they're telling us. Inches over miles. And the start, or the first ratio, is going to be 2.5, because a 2.5 or 2 5/10 is in inches. That's what they said here. My denominator is going to be 40, because it represents the 40 miles. Okay? So now they're saying if 2 of the districts on the map is 6 1/4 inch. So maybe this is what you were talking, Hatfield, about doing conversions. When I think of conversions, I think of like miles to inches and inches to feet and all that stuff. But we need, since this is in the decimal form, we can put this in a decimal form. What's 6 1/4 as a decimal? Put that in the chat. What's 6 1/4 as a decimal? Oh, Pap, it's going to be a 4 instead of a 2, but yes. So Mo, I see you. I Love Lucy, I see you. Okay, Michelle, I see you. Yeah, fractions and decimal. Okay, I get you. All right. Miss B, I see you. Jackie, I see you, but not 6.4. Okay? So Boogie, I see you. Miss Chan, not 6.2. Okay? Sharon, I see you. Okay? Alright? So, this is what we're doing. If you got a quarter, think of money. If you're in the United States, I know we don't like to use change too often, but hey, that change adds up. You got a nice little profit there. So if you're talking about a quarter, how many quarters can make $1? 4 of them. So if we're looking 4 quarters to make $1, and we're talking about one of the 4 quarters. So 1 quarter is worth 25 cents. Okay? So it has nothing to do with the denominator. You're saying 1 out of 4. Every time I think of my fourths, I always think of quarters. I always think that 4 individual quarters equals 1 whole dollar. So if I'm taking 1 out of those 4 quarters, that 1 quarter is represented by 0.25. But then they're saying, what's the actual distance in miles? So that's the part we don't know. So since we don't know it, that's why we're using our x. And what you guys just created is called a proportion. So that means the scale factor of the map here is going to be the same scale factor of the situation over here. So when you have a ratio, aka a fraction, equal to a ratio, aka fraction, what we're going to do is call cross multiply. So we're going to multiply 2.5 times x, which gives me 2.5x. Then we're going to multiply 6.25 times 40. Well, 6.25 times 40 gives me a lovely number of 250. Okay? Because what I did was multiply those two. Okay? Now, I'm going to show you another way when we can answer this. I want to get x by itself. So that means I need to do the inverse of 2.5x, which is 2.5 times x. The inverse of multiplication is division. So when we divide, we're able to get 1x. And then 250 divided by 2.5, that is 100. So 100 what? 100 miles. Okay. So it will be B. So before we completely lose all light, another way of thinking about it. If I didn't think of them as decimals, I can think of like 25 and 625. So if I wanted to go from 25 to 625, I know 25 times 25 gives me 625. So couldn't I multiply the 40 by 25? Which is probably like 2.5 anyway. Because you have your 0, carry the 20, 8, and that's 10. This is going to be 1 decimal place. This has 0 decimal places. So starting at the end, move it 1 decimal place. And we also get 100. If I solve the pattern from here to here, I know that 2.5 times 2.5 will also give me 6.25, because 25 times 25 gives me 625. That means I can multiply that 40 by 2.5. And I'll get my answer of 100. Alright? So, remember, you can either cross multiply, not cross simplify. When there's an equal sign, you're going to cross multiply. Okay? Or if you see the pattern from one numerator to the next, apply that same pattern to your denominator, because you will get the same answer. Okay? Alright. So, ladies and gentlemen, taking things step by step, how to translate from verbiage to algebraic expression, that's one thing that was represented here. Because anytime they do any kind of comparisons like this, you are setting up what's called a proportion. And what is a proportion? It's this lovely thing that we just did right here. Alright, so if you need more practice problems like this, okay, or you're just like, Audrey, I need help, I need to pass my GED, I've tried so many things, but for some reason I like how you teach it because I like how you break things down. Hey, one, thank you, because this is what I was doing. I was on live, or I wasn't physically on live, I was watching lives earlier today and watching a whole bunch of math people, and I got dizzy. Like, I literally was like, I don't know how anybody's understanding you guys. So with this, I have like a QR code that you can scan, and after you scan the QR code, it takes you on a journey. So I break down concepts step by step, and I give you extra practice problems. So this is the thing. Now that you learned all this stuff, you need to apply it. Okay? You can look at all different types of math, and I actually give you an end of the chapter quiz for each of the books. I have a total of 10 books. Now, if you like all the research and maybe you just want to come up with the plan, okay, you want to pass the ASVAB, so that means you want to get past that 31. So if you want to get past the 31, you guys need to know your basics. You're adding, let me talk to you before I lose all my light. Okay, so you need to add, subtract, multiply, divide, your fractions, your decimals, your percentage. You need to know your distance, rate, and time, and the age problems that you see a lot with the arithmetic reasoning, as well as the algebra part, how to solve one-step, two-step, three-step, multi-step problems, how to graph, find your slope, graph your slope, graph an equation of the line, looking at your system of equations, looking at, for the 31, system of equations, and a little bit of volume, and also know your area and circumference. So area, circumference, and perimeter. If you can get those down, if that sounds like, oh my gosh, that's a lot, I wish I had someone to break it down for me, that's why I developed the algebra at your pace. Okay? It walks you through step by step. Now, if you're just like, okay, Audrey, I just need more practice. Like, I got some of the stuff, but I just want practice. Well, I have 2 books. So one is my practice exam book, which gives you 6 full-length mock practice tests, just similar to what I was doing earlier. Okay, so all you do is you sit down, you time yourself, because you need to practice the way you test. Okay, you set a timer, you sit down, you do the questions. These have 35 questions each, 6 tests altogether, so that's 210 questions just from this book. Now, oh, thanks, cool man. Now, if you want, there's one with the ASVAB. So we're dealing with a lot of the, oops, sorry, my fan. We're dealing with a lot of those arithmetic, reasoning, and a little bit of the algebra. So there are some word problems that we have to break down, just similar to what I did here. Okay, so when we have that, you can have just the books themselves, or you can get the books with a video explanation. So I walk you through step by step, how do I solve the answers in these books. Now, if you want them, there is a link in my profile, okay, that will take you directly to that. But if you're just like, you know what, I think that's what I need, but I'm not sure, I'd rather you click on my profile pic. After you do that, and send me a message. Tell me what test you're taking. Tell me what your problems are. If you want to share what your insecurity of not going after the test, because I know for a fact a lot of you guys take all these courses, but then when it's time for you to take the test, you're like, no, I don't think I'm ready. So how will you know that you're ready if you don't try to take the test? If you've taken it multiple times and you're like, time crunch is hitting me and I need assistance, make sure you message me and tell me. Okay? Would I pay $50 for a tutor? Yes. I would actually pay $90 for a tutor because I charge $90. $50 is not cheap. $50 is actually cheap, I should say. But here's my thing. Go for the person of quality, not of price. Because when you pick a person because of their price, and then all of a sudden you try to work with them, there may be a good chance that they're good, but a lot of chances they're not. Okay? For HESI reading, yep, for any kind. For any kind. Because here's my thing, that person has the knowledge to break the concepts down to you. Okay? If you go by price, you're going to constantly keep trying to find a person. And you're going to keep getting the same type of person. Different names, different genders, but that same type of teaching. And then some of those are like, hey, and I know people who tutor, and some of them are charging that amount. And sometimes they'll say, oh, well, I'm going on vacation, so guys, I won't be able to tutor you for like 2 weeks. But they have a test coming up. You know? Found the person, me. Okay. All right. So that's why. And for me, I have the knowledge. I have broken things down. I have asked and I have studied. I know this is why I'm kind of all kinds of wonky right now, because I've been up for over a couple hours. I haven't been to sleep since, what is today? What is today? Monday? Yeah, I haven't been to sleep since early Sunday morning around 2 a.m. Hi, how you doing? Because there's a lot of stuff I tried to do. I try to make sure that I'm giving you the right products. I try to make sure that I'm giving help and assistance to people I don't even know. Okay, so you're working on your HESI reading? Okay. So yeah, for reading, that is not me. Okay, that is not me. If you need somebody for reading, make sure you follow Faith by Literacy. Okay, she's here on TikTok. I'll try to pin it as soon as it comes up. Okay, make sure you follow Faith by Literacy. She does a lot with the reading and with the English portion of, say, the GED test, any of the tests that you have to deal with the reading portion. She's really good. She's a little hyper. You know, she's not like me. She's a little hyper, but that is actually going to help you out. Okay? Once I start working math for my GED. Okay, February. I see you. Thank you. Alright. Okay, going to follow her now? Yes, please. Now, here's another person. If you guys are thinking about getting your TEAS test or your HESI test, make sure you follow a blessed... I really should be charging these people for this. All this. Okay, so if you're trying to get your TEAS test and your HESI test, and you cannot, and I repeat, you cannot just get through that dosage calculations, it's throwing you off because there's a lot of conversions and you have to know your conversions, but definitely follow a blessed RN. That's what she does. And she is an RN. She is the bomb when it comes to that. Okay? And that's my thing. She knows what she does and she gets it done. Now, if you have trouble with basic math, so I'm like multiplying, you haven't really done mental math in a while, make sure you follow Math Stephanie. Okay? Math Stephanie, she comes on here as well. Here we go. Okay. Alright, so Math Stephanie is another person. She works a lot with the multiplication. So just to refresh your memory, do I have multiplication cards? Yes, I do. Okay, all this stuff is inside my stan.store. So if you click the link in my bio, because I only have one, as soon as I can get to my bio, and then I have to go because, as you can tell, I'm losing my light. Flip mode squad. Oh, my numbers are going up. Yay. Alright, so if you go to my profile, okay, Math by Audrey, and if you notice right here, you have stan.store Math by Audrey. If you go ahead and click on that, it's going to be very blinding for a second. But I changed it. I was like, you know what? I need to make this a little more classier. So, if anything, the information is, ooh, so sorry. The information is exactly the same. So as you scroll, now here's one place that I want you to recognize. Right here, that's our YT channel. So I put all of my recordings of my TikToks, I put all my recordings here in my YT. Okay, so go ahead, subscribe, and you notice I put the recent ones, which was yesterday's, already up and moving. So we had the morning one when I was just doing like some test prep stuff, and then afternoon I was literally breaking down step by step how to do fractions. I know it's a hard sell for a lot of people, how to add, subtract, multiply, divide fractions. That's all listed here. Okay, so if that sounds like something that you need, I did a video live of it. So that's where you go. Alright, so that is my YT. If you scroll up here, you have a free math check. So if you need to check your math skills, go ahead and get that math checkup. And then if you're interested in tutoring, you can go ahead and check, and we could have like a 15-minute conversation with the tutoring. But if you're looking at digital downloads of all my stuff, take a look, okay? Take a look at all the stuff that we have. I have math starters, I have foundations, everything is here. And you can actually see the prices of everything, okay? Alright, so then if you have the individual books, all of these are digital. Now, let me do it really fast so you guys don't have to sit through everything. So, here is my multiplication math flashcards. If you need help with multiplication, there's one with division. Okay, here's the real world with the linear equations. We've been doing a couple of those. But then, if you want the physical books, okay, you can get the physical books from the A, okay? All you have to do is just enter in there, and I'll take you to a page in my website which will walk you through each of my books of algebra at your pace. But this will take you directly to the A. Okay? The only thing is, if you can fill in your name and your email so I know who is looking up my books, okay? Especially on the A, because the A doesn't do that. Okay? I'm not collecting information to annoy you. I just want to know who is looking at my books. Okay? Alrighty? So, everything that you need is through that link. All right. So if you go to stan.store, Math by Audrey, it'll take you directly there. And then if you want to get the free checkup, go ahead for the free checkup. If you do the free checkup and you want me to check your answers, you can message me. Message me your answers. Okay, take a picture of the paper that you have and then send it to me. DM me. Okay? Okay. All right. All right, everyone. So this is all I have for tonight because I have a headache and I look like I'm going into the darkness. The dark side. All right. So, if anything, I will be here tomorrow morning at my usual 7:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to break down more concepts, as well as, and I think tomorrow I'm going to be doing distance, rate, and time, and then a little bit with word problems. That's what I'm going to be doing in the morning. But I will not be here. I don't think I'm going to be here for the afternoon. Not sure. It all depends on this one kid if they show, yes or no. All right, but if you do have questions, please click on my profile pic, follow me, okay? Take a look at some of the stuff that I give you guys here on TikTok. Take a look at my stand store to see what will interest you. What do you need to save on, okay? Because I'd rather you ask questions than just go ahead and buy stuff. I love the fact that you want to. I know school is going to be starting, but if you have any questions, please make sure you message me so we can answer it. All right, everyone, I'm losing light. I will see you guys tomorrow. All right, have an awesome day. And don't watch too much. It confuses you. All right, take care.